Good morning, everyone. Welcome to a beautiful Sunday here at the Oakland Unitarian Universalism Church. And we have Martina Thompson in our pulpit today. The title of her presentation, as you can see, is Our Sources: What Forms the Basis for a Free and Responsible Search for Truth and Meaning? It's actually a question I've had for quite a while. Well, the background of that is if you talk to anyone about Unitarian Universalism, they'll generally say something like, oh, you people will believe anything. And so that word responsible kind of gets lost, but I'll leave that to you to develop that idea. Thank you all. And now at this time, I would like to turn the phone over to Marty for our meditation and our message.
So the last time I was here, we had just by accident picked the same reading. Great minds think alike, but this time I brought a different one. It's Community Beatitudes, and this was written by a minister. Her name's Ashley Coran, and she's in Minneapolis. And it was written about the events that took place in Minneapolis. And last night, as I was wrapping up my, preparation to come and talk to you, I had turned on the news and then was watching what's going on in New Jersey. And that was very much on my mind. And so I chose this reading.
I might go a little bit closer to your mouth.
How's that?
How's it working for?
Can you?
It's working
Okay.
for me now.
So, Community Beatitudes. Blessed are the immigrants, for they shall call home into being. Blessed are the observers, for they shall bear witness to truth. Blessed are the song leaders, for they shall raise voices in hope. Blessed are the educators, for they shall shield children with care. Blessed are the students, for they shall be beacons of courage. Blessed are the artists, for they shall capture the beauty of our power and our grief. Blessed are the faith leaders, for they shall proclaim our morality. Blessed are the marshals, for they shall protect our path towards freedom. Blessed are the independent journalists, for they shall shine light on reality. Blessed are the fundraisers, for they shall make miracles manifest. Blessed are the grocery shoppers, for they shall nourish our resistance. Blessed are the street medics, for they shall tend to our holy flesh. Blessed are the organizers, for they shall channel despair into action. Blessed are the block captains, for they shall weave neighbors into networks. Blessed are the movement veterans, for they shall share the wisdom of history. Blessed are the newly awakened, for they shall be welcomed with joy. Blessed are all who hunger and thirst for liberation, for we shall inherit the future. So join me in a moment of meditation to think about those that are struggling for freedom today. It's always so nice to be with you here in Oakland. Do you remember when we started this series? It was last September, and I said, well, as we go along, we'll see what country we wake up on. up in each month when I come to speak. And I know that some of you are fans of Heather Cox Richardson because I've heard you talk about her. Friday morning, I woke up and I watched her podcast from the night before, and she was expressing disbelief as she surveyed aerial photographs of the White House. Jackie Kennedy's rose garden paved over, now a patio. The East Wing gone, rubble, construction zone. And on the south lawn, in front of the White House, a giant UFC structure arena is being built to host cage matches to celebrate both Donald Trump's 80th birthday and the country's 250th anniversary. And Heather expressed her hurt and dismay over seeing what is happening to our historic sites, but an even deeper pain over the people in concentration camps throughout the country. And that's a pain I know that we're all feeling too. So I think that pretty much captures the extent to which we are living in a different country than we were last September. This morning, we're going to explore the question of what it means to engage in a free and responsible search for truth and meaning in this current environment. Unitarian Universalism is a non-creedal faith. We are the people of the wider path, and we walk that path together. Theologically, don't let the fact that we don't have a creed confuse you and make you think there is no theology here. And we definitely cannot believe anything we want to believe. That's something we probably all hear. We believe that which our conscience demands that we believe. So if we have no creed, what do we mean by theology? First of all, just let me dispel any idea that theology and creed are the same. They're not. Theology is the study of the nature of God and the universe. But in our UU context, it's much broader than that. It encompasses human anthropology and culture, cosmology, and our place in the universe. And this morning, what we're looking at is epistemology, that branch of philosophy that tries to answer questions like, what does it mean to know something? And how do we know what we know? What are our sources? A foundational question in theology is, where do beliefs come from? UUs answer that beliefs come from our experience of life. Ralph Waldo Emerson charged Unitarian ministers to go forth. He called them newborn bards of the Spirit and said, we must go forth and offer congregations life passed through the fire of thought. Reasoned thought about our experiences of life. And these are the building blocks of belief. There's a wealth of theology behind our 7 principles and now also our shared values. They are aspirational statements about the kind of world we want to create. They're audacious acts of moral imagination, sort of a scaffolding that can support the type of theology that is at the beating heart of our living tradition. And the principles have a structure that is instructive. And I gave some handouts. I hope everybody got one. We talked about the fact that everybody is pretty familiar with the first principle, the inherent worth and dignity of all people. And the 7th principle, respect for the interdependent web of all existence. And then you've got the mushy middle. And I think that when I was talking about that, we were able to recall the fourth principle, which is the free and responsible search for truth and meaning. But if you look at it as an arch with the first principle on one leg and the seventh principle on the other, what you wind up with at the apex of that, the keystone, the weight-bearing stone, is the fourth principle, the responsible search for truth and meaning. And one way to think about this is that what we are committing to is creating the kind of world where our principles are made manifest, where they're made real, where they become true. So, how can we know what is true? On what authority are we basing our claims about what is true? Religions based in revelation answer that we can know the truth because of what is written in our holy book. Religions based in tradition say we can know something is true because it has passed the test of time. It has been handed down through the ages. Unitarian Universalism says our source of authority resides in each individual conscience among us collectively. I often hear, like you were saying, that the 7 principles are just, they're nice ideas about love and peace and justice. Who wouldn't agree with that? Nothing very controversial. Pretty bland, really, when you think about it. Well, how about a faith in which each of us has the moral responsibility and authority to build our own spiritual and ethical path? That is a pretty radical. The responsible piece demands that our conclusions be grounded in reason, ethics, and respect for this beautiful and fragile world around us. And we're given suggestions for sources to draw on. And even more radical, the first of those sources is our own experience, and then followed by science, nature, world religions, 6 sources. As you use responsible for building our own theologies, how are we to evaluate the religious beliefs that we encounter? Sometimes it feels like we're a tiny raft of rationality adrift in a sea of irrational beliefs. These irrational beliefs claim a rationality that does not exist. It's true because the Bible says so. In other words, how are we supposed to evaluate truth claims? Epistemologists often offer 3 theories of the truth. The first is correspondence. Does the claim match observable facts? The second is, does it fit logically with established truths? And the third is empirical. The empirical evidence, does this claim hold up and produce consistent results when tested in practice, when the rubber hits the road? An example of a truth claim that holds up and produces consistent results is germ theory. You may have seen footage of our Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, saying he doesn't believe in germs. He never washes his hands. Things that he can't see can't hurt him. I see your face. Yeah. Well, he should look into how our 20th president, James Garfield, died. He was shot. There was an attempted assassination, but the bullet didn't kill him. He lived for 80 days. And he died of sepsis. And his sepsis was the result of doctors using unsterile instruments and probing that wound with dirty hands. Germ theory had been adopted in Europe 20 years before that, but we in the United States resisted the idea. So in 2026, our responsible search for truth and meaning is challenged by fake news, reports in the media, and from government sources that weaponize false information to manipulate public opinion and obscure reality. Today, a free and responsible search for truth and meaning requires specific media literacy skills in order to identify deception. And on the back of the handout that I gave are some questions that Cornell University Library says we can develop these media literacy skills by asking ourselves these questions about things that we encounter in the media. You know, what's the author's background? What are their credentials? What's their motive? Are they trying to sell us something? Which voices are missing? What's being left out? What's omitted? Is there evidence, and does the piece give us that evidence? Is it news or opinion? And does the content adhere to editorial standards of journalism? So, you know, then we've got to dig a little deeper and figure out what are the standards of journalism. In my interview, when I went before the Ministerial Fellowship Committee in March, one of the areas of competence for UU ministry was an area called leading the faith into the future. And I was asked to identify areas that I think will be crucial in the coming years. And what I identified as the number one challenge facing us is dealing with misinformation, disinformation, and propaganda. We are called by our theological grounding to stand for truth and reason, and to be leaders in building media literacy in this age of AI, deepfakes, and weaponized disinformation. We're heirs to a liberal theological tradition based on reason and intellect, one that believes religion should be viewed in light of modern knowledge and experience, deeply committed to open-ended inquiry. Liberal theology. Did I just? Huh?
It's okay now.
Okay. Liberal theology, with its joyous embrace of diverse perspectives, is a powerful antidote against efforts to dismantle truth itself. And our voice is an essential part of this moment in our national story. But the good news is we are definitely up to the task. The world needs to hear what the message we have to share, and it is up to us to articulate it. Blessed be, and may it be so. Thank you.